So thank you everyone for being here today. This morning the Senate Public Safety Committee will hear and consider SB 1070. Before we go to that hearing, I want to explain why protecting sacred places of worship is urgently needed now more than ever. Protesters, they block entrances, use vulgar slogans, they yell through bullhorns, infiltrate services, shout obscenities, and turn sacred places of worship into intimidation and chaos. They have barricaded attendees, robbing families of the peaceful worship that they seek to attend at their house of faith. Current law makes intentionally disturbing religious services a misdemeanor, regardless of how serious or coordinated the attack is. I'm here to stand up and say that that's simply not enough. That's why I introduced Senate Bill 1070. This bill is about protecting sacred places of worship in a fair way that prioritizes public safety. My bill gives judges and prosecutors the discretion they need. While less serious incidences can still be charged as a misdemeanor, it will increase penalties for the most egregious of cases.
That is why today's bill is so important. Now you might ask yourself, why? Why must we legislate the protection of sacred houses of worship? Well, we all know that answer. Our world has become a battleground of differences, of divisiveness, and of hate. This bill is about unity, it's about love, and it's about family and community.
I speak as someone who understands what happens to a congregation when somebody violates our rights to worship peacefully. Destiny Church is one of the largest churches in Sacramento. We have over 7,000 people attending our services, and we are, by every stretch of the imagination, an international church. We have all demographic groups represented. We have seen what has happened when people believe that they can invade a sacred space, harass worshipers, create fear, and walk away believing there is no real consequences. In 2001, we had 25 agitators show up at our Rockland campus. They came on a consistent basis, and it was where they would stay on the sidewalk and the road entering into our property. But on one Sunday, they decided to try to breach our sanctuary doors. It wasn't for the brave volunteers of Destiny Church. They created a human barricade that prevented for them from going any further.
And I have seen firsthand what the house of worships can do to heal our children, to heal our families. So I am asking for unity on this bill. I am asking that we will come together on SB 1070 for the sake of the children, for the sake of the hurting. The scripture says that we will run into the house of the Lord and we will find safety, not chaos, not pain, not fear, but safety, hope, joy. This is where we come together to lay our burdens down. This is where we come together to break bread together and gain a better identity. Our houses of worship need to be protected for the sake of our children, for the sake of the generations that are coming before us. This is where we teach them our ways, so when they are older, they will not depart. So I ask you to support this bill, and I ask you to consider what Bill 1070 will do for the peace of our families, for our children, as we come together and we worship.
And it's not just the a violent outburst in the courts or in churches, but we've also had shootings and things like that are born from this kind of activity. And so I don't think this bill goes too far in ratcheting it up to the next level. Judges still have discretion on the wobbler, whether what is occurring is rises to that level?
I am as concerned as you are at the disruption of religious services and the vitriol that seems to be so common nowadays, the lack of respect and the lack of decorum. The idea that someone would come into a religious setting and disturb it is I think should be abhorrent to all of us. But it's always happened. It's just gotten uglier. If, in fact, there's a violent outburst or a shooting, that's already a felony. So we have deterrents for violence. These are, as I understand it, these are words, and we're talking about, and you appreciate the context of content-based defense. I was trying to figure out what we were regulating, and it really is content-based defense. The idea that we would make it a felony for someone to walk into a church and not act violently, but to object for whatever reason, even if we disagree with it, that's part of the foundation of our Constitution, is the ability to disagree, and disagreeable as it is.
But when we start getting into regulating the content of people's speech, it's a slippery slope. And that's why we have to really judge these issues on a case-by-case basis and to make sure that we're creating a safe space, but we're also not infringing on people's fundamental constitutional rights.